All right. Questions before we get started?
Bree showed me how to put it on better, so
Okay, so you're good on that.
yeah.
So, and then oh shit, I didn't send you videos, did I? Okay, so I'm gonna help you today find the levels. I'll kind of breeze through it for the sake of training.
Sure.
But I'll send you 3 videos to help you recognize how to size your collar, how to find his levels, and there's a 3rd one there. I think it just goes over all the different functions of your e-collar on the remote, just to get familiar with it. If you read the manual and all that stuff, yeah, then you're good. Okay, so let's go to grab your remote there. And kilo, right? All right. And then what is your remote currently set at?
32.
So we're gonna go down, we're going to a 10. Okay. What I'm gonna have you do here with kilo is, as best you can, just keep them like that. Okay, you're gonna hold your leash, and we're not gonna do anything else, we're gonna just take a look at kilo, and when I say tap, you're gonna press that bumpy button that's on the side, okay? So tap, 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 okay? So here you see how you very subtly move and like lay down. This is what we would call perception level. Okay, because there's 3 levels. We have connection, perception, and working. Connection is if like Kilo is staring at a dog or a squirrel, and you can see the neck twitching, but he's like completely just unfazed by it. Okay. And then we have perception level. Same concept. He's staring at a dog or a squirrel, and you see the twitch, and then like he kind of subtly moves. And then working level, same context, but when you see the twitch, you're going to see like a bigger reaction. Okay. And when we're training, we operate at that working level, okay? Working level is what's gonna make whatever we teach Kilo reliable or mean something within that given context, okay? So like in this room, like on 10, right, he felt that. That was what I would call perception, so it was a very subtle response. But when we're at the working level, like it could be 20 in here, it could be 35 out on the training floor, and it can be 55 out in the real world. Okay, it's going to change according to what's going on within the environment. This is going to be very logical, and as long as the one thing that holds people back the most is simply how high do we go on the remote. Okay, so if you're out in the real world and you're like, but I've seen Kilo respond to 10, and I've seen him be amazing at 10. People kind of get stuck on that, and then later on I'm like, well, your dog needs 55 right now, and your 45 levels is too short. We're not going to get anywhere, okay? So once you learn how to recognize his behavior, the responses he's giving you, and essentially, is he performing the command? E-collar should never feel like an argument, okay? If it's feeling like an argument, it means we're too low, okay? So as we go along and you start to teach him more things, and of course with just what you're learning here, you're going to start to see it, and it becomes like very apparent, and you'll just find yourself like just adjusting like without even thinking about it, okay? So on that 10, I can see that he feels it, but it was too subtle for me. So we're gonna go to 15. If you land 14, 16, you're okay, just general range. Okay, we're gonna repeat the same thing. We're gonna look at Kilo and tip, tip, tip. Okay, no real response here. Let's try 20. And tip, tip, tip. Okay, 25. Tip, tip. Tap. Wait a moment. Tap. Tap. Okay. So you see how we're getting a little more, but still taking quite a few taps. Let's try 30. And tap.
Oh, there we go.
Tap. Let's try going down to 28. See how he's moving a bit more, right? There you go. Okay. And I'm going to pause for a second. Tip. 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 We're going to start with that. Okay? So here, as general rule of thumb, I have my 3-tap roll. So when you're doing this at home, you're going to do the same thing every day. You're going to start at 10, you're going to do 3 taps, and you're going to escalate and jump to 5 or so. Until you find what you think is a working level, okay? And then, like let's say 30 is too low, 35 is too high, you can now go between 32, 33, you can really fine tune it, okay? Don't get too caught up on being exact. The theory is as low as possible, but as high as needed.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want dogs yelping, but at the same time, I need dogs to listen. Okay.
That was a question. Is that more just like shock? Or?
So in the beginning, because other than what you've done with just testing to see if he felt it, he has no idea what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason why we typically start with the heel command is because when we put the e-collar and we remote, you can see how it makes him move, right? Whether it's subtly or big movements and all that stuff, and it's making him want to move. So heel, which is a moving command, helps guide Kilo and teach him how it turns on and how it turns off. Okay. So here, because he had no concept of it, he was like, "What the hell am I supposed to do?" Right? So that's why you have to go up higher, because right now he's like, "What the hell is this thing?" And what we're going to do today is going to start teaching Kilo that this is actually a line of communication. And as he gets more acclimated or introduced to it, and you're practicing repeatedly, he's going to start going like, "Oh, I know what this is. Like, I recognize it, and I know it means I'm supposed to do something." And then as we go along, we're going to shape behaviors. Today we're going to shape what we call the place command, which is what you saw all those dogs doing out there. So we send them, and for the most part, they just stay there, right? And if we get a newbie or a dog that's under too much stress, they'll try to get off, but then we can correct them with the remote and they go back on because they already have a reference point. Because he didn't have a reference point, we kind of just said, like, "Here you go," and made it happen, right?
Yeah.
Which, you know, we can do, but obviously that's because we have to do it, right? So if somebody drops off a dog here to be board and trained and we have no control, yes, we want to teach the dog, but at the same time, we're just like, we can't have you going bonkers,
Yeah.
right? We got to stop this and we're going to get this under control. So we have to kind of, you know, cut some corners sometimes, but we always do go back and make sure we layer everything correctly, okay? So here, what I'm going to have you do now is going to short your leash. You're going to give Kilo maybe about 1.5 foot slack. All right, and what you're going to do is we're going to start about a foot to 1.5 foot away, or a square and a half away here, and you're going to tap. And as you're tapping, tap, and I'm going to coach you, of course, tap, tap. And if you don't see a response by that second or third tap, you're going to keep tapping, and then you're going to pull Kilo towards the placemat here. Once all 4 paws are on, you're going to remove pressure. You're going to stop tapping. Should Kilo go off or veer off, you're going to counter him with pressure, begin tapping again until he goes back onto the bed, and then once he's on, we stop. We wait a moment. If he tries to jump off, we put on leash pressure, start tapping. He goes back on, we stop. Once he sits there for about a couple of seconds, we're going to cue the word break, and then we're going to move backwards.
Am I cueing place?
Not right now. Yeah, we're going to use no words in the beginning until we teach the behavior. And what we're trying to shape here is, after we've done so many reps, you're going to tap. And with the tap alone, you're going to see Kilo just go there. Okay, so that means he understands when I feel this, I go here. Once we see that being consistent, then we start to layer in the word of place. And tap, 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 and pull, tap, tap. Good, and relax, wait a moment. And then you're gonna say break,
Break.
and then move backwards. Okay, and we're gonna repeat that 4 more times. So here, tap, tap. Actually, go ahead and repeat this. Tap, tap, and walk towards tap, tap, tap. Hold right there. Tap. A little bit of pressure to the left, now forward. Tap. A little bit more forward. Tap, tap. So if we see him going more so on his own, we're actually going to restrain him. Okay, we're not going to allow him to go in there because we want to make it very obvious that he's responding to the remoting to go there, as opposed to thinking like, "Oh, like I did it once, so I'll just do it again." Okay.
Right.
And then when you present him to the bed, you want to pause for a second, and then begin that tapping process. Okay. So if we walk with Kilo, sometimes the momentum of us just walking, the dog will just go. So I'm like, did the remote do the work, or did we giving him momentum do the work, right?
Exactly what I thought.
And we're going to do as much as possible, always using that pressure, because that ultimately, when he's off the leash, that's the tool that you're going to have. We're not going to have a leash anymore. So in the beginning, we use it as guidance, but then eventually we start to wean it away, and we go slowly to remote so that you have that off-leash reliability. Okay? Break. Break. Good. Now wait a moment. Good. And break.
Break.
We'll do 2 more. Going to shorten leash a little bit more. Okay. Now stop there. Wait a moment. Right. Good. Do me a favor. You see that front button? The front one? Pager, hit it. Okay. Just checking that's on. And tap the bumpy one. Tap. 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 A little bit of pressure. Tap. There we go. Good. And pause for a second. Tap. Good. Wait a moment. Oh, we're at 20. What now?
It's at 20.
20. Let's go and go back up. We're going 35. And break.
Break.
Good. And one more. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. There you go. Wait a moment. Yeah. Yeah. Good. Wait a moment. And break backwards.
Break.
Perfect. Now we're going to do same concept, but now you're going to move around the mat. Okay, so you might come to a stop here, you might come over here, and then send him, or from here. You're going to send him from different angles, but still at that 1 to 1.5 foot distance. Okay, go ahead. Good. Tap. Tap. Good. Wait a moment. Break.
Break.
Good. 1 more.
Pulling towards that door.
Door, yeah. Good. Yeah, wait a moment. Break.
Break.
Good. 3 more. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. 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 Good. Yeah. 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 Gonna bump your numbers, go to 40. Yeah. 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 45. Yep. 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 50. Yep. Good. Wait a moment. Yep. Yep. It's going to go down. We're at 40 what now?
It's at 45.
Let's go to 32. So right there, if you get a random hip like that, that could be where you have poor contact, and then all of a sudden you get good contact.
Yeah.
Part of it is because of the fur.
Right.
So with us, if you put on your neck because you have nothing there, you'll feel it immediately. But with the fur, it acts as a buffer. Okay, so if you ever get a yip that's like that loud, I just go down about 10 to 15 levels. If it's like even louder, I'll go down half the power, and then work my way back up again. Main thing is not to overreact or try to coddle the dog afterwards.
Right.
Okay, so think of it as if like a kid falls off the bike. If the kid falls off the bike, you're not make a big deal about it. Oh my God, this and that. You're raising potentially a drama king and queen, right? If you're just like dust yourself off, you're okay, you're good, get back on the bike, go ahead. Then you teach a kid how to recover well. Okay. Same thing for the dog. I know for most people they feel bad. They want to like console the dog. He doesn't understand console or consoling energy. He understands that you're soft at that moment. Okay. And it's kind of like if shit happens, if there's an emergency, you don't want a soft leader, right? You want someone who's just going to make decisions and let's do it, right? So kind of same thing here. Not because we're jerks, but because I know if I try to console him, he's not going to understand that I want to console him.
Yeah.
He's just thinking, okay, you're telling me, because petting is, I understand the concept for humans, oh, I hope you feel better, right? But for the dog, he takes it as, yes, you should respond this way, okay? So whenever you're petting Kilo, just keep in mind that petting is a reinforcer. So like if he's barking at a dog, for example, and you're trying to calm him down by petting, you're actually telling him, keep barking at that dog. Okay, and I see it happen all the time on the streets with people, like their dog be barking and they'll like scold them and they'll pet them, like, calm down. And like, you're just, one, the dog doesn't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Two, you're just telling your dog you should bark at dogs. Okay, so if that happens, just adjust your level. And then if we keep getting inconsistencies like that, where you're just like, yeah, I'll have good contact, and then you'll just like bark when I go up because I'm having bad contact, they do make special adapters to help with that.
Okay.
Okay. Now his coat's a medium length coat. I don't think that you would need one, but if we find inconsistencies, that's also an option. Okay. But for now, I give it a week or two, see how he does. Let's go into the break. And we're gonna do about 2 more of those sends from different directions. So let's go lower. 22. Lower. 14. Yeah. There you go. Okay. Good. Then wait a moment. Now break. Good. One more. Yeah, when I work with Samoyeds or Huskies, it's always a pain. There you go. Wait a moment. Good. So now what we're going to do, same concept, but now we're going to move back. Okay? And we're going to try to send from about 2.5 to 3 squares back. Okay. Now you're going to try your best here. You're going to have your leash short. Start to tap in right. Do that first. And ideally, I'd like to see Kilo begin to move from here to there. If we see that, that means he's getting the concept. If we don't see that, that means he needs more work. So you're going to keep tapping, same deal. You'll then start to pull if needed. You're going to try not to move. Okay, you're going to try not to move forward. If we do a few more taps and we're not getting anywhere, you can take a little step forward. Okay, and then if you're still not getting anywhere, if needed, another step forward. But you're really trying to refrain from moving. Okay, we're trying to get him to go from point A to point B on his own as much as possible. Okay, break. Go ahead and bump a little bit. You're at 814. Let's go 20. 25. Play. So people, right? Also, he needs a more snug collar.
Yeah, that's
essentially.
yeah.
We might have some spares here that someone donated. If you want to take a look and see if we have one spares. He's got a little bit of a dense coat, but it shouldn't be that much of a problem. One con to the e-collar is just figuring out that tightness. So once if you're like, one day figure out like, oh wow, like this is pretty consistent, I would mark it, with paint or something, so you know which notch it is. Let's go ahead and go down. What number are we at?
We're at 28.
Let's go down to 20. Whenever you adjust your collar, also reset your number, just in case you have good contact. You don't want to. Yeah. Okay. So we're at 20 and tap, 25. Tip, tip, tip. 30. Tip, tip, tip. 35. I know. Tip, tip, tip. 40. But there's no twitch here, so there's not even contact. 45. 50. 55. 60. 65. No. Yeah. So, do you see the boxes?
Yeah.
We would see a twitch. So when you see nothing, this just means no contact. Okay? So. Go back down, let's go down to that. Go back down to that 20. Try that now. Yep. Tip. 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 25. Tip. 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 30. Tip, 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 35. Tip, tip, 40. Tip, 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 45. Half this class is going to be finding your number. Okay. There it is, 72. Okay, we're going to go down. 36. There we go. Okay, now I see the twitch. That's 40. So, see how fast I escalated?
Yeah.
Don't worry about that now, but that's where I was telling you, like, you'll learn to, because I can see it, right? But the reason I do that for you is so you have a frame of reference, right? Because people go like, how do I know to bump it? I do 3 taps. If I see no response, then I bump it. But also, when you're fitting the box, if you fit it on the side you're going to work on, it makes it easier for you because you'll see the muscles twitching. So if you see the muscle twitching and him not responding, then it's not so much the remote. He's just not. It's not concerning enough. But if you're at 80 and you see nothing, we don't have contact. Okay. So I'm not worried when we go higher in those ranges when there's no contact, because typically by the time you do get contact, it's not the full power. So that's why 72 didn't make him yelp, but earlier like 35 did. Yeah. Right? So as soon as I saw the big reaction, I went down to like 38 or something, and then 40 and tap, because I had to, once you get the contact at a higher level, you can usually go down and still maintain that contact. Okay? So now let's try again. And yep. Bring him towards the bed. Yep. 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 Pull, pull, pull. Okay. Okay. And if you choke it closer here, it'll give you more leverage. Tip. Tip. There you go. Good. And wait a moment. And break. Break. Good. 4 more. Good. Wait a moment. Break. Break. Good. 3 more. Let's go down to 30. Choke up a little bit. Down to 20. Tip. And then more towards this way. There you go. Tip. 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 There you go. Good. Wait a moment. Good. Break. Good. 2 more. Right. Good. Tap. A little bit more nudge. Tip. There you go. Good. Take a step forward if needed. Tip. There you go. Good. Wait a moment. Perfect. And break. Break. Good. 1 more. Right. Good. There you go. Better. Okay. Right. Tap. A little more forward. Choke up. Yep. There you go. Tip. 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 There you go. And then tap up. Tip. Right there. Good. And then we relax. Good. So whenever we see him trying to go off, once you've countered him and he's got back on the placemat, you want to release that tension because we want to see if he's going to mentally stay, right? Because like let's say you could feel him going against it, he still wants to go, you're just restraining him. So once he's back on it, I'll release that tension because then it gives him the option of going forward with that thought process if he's still thinking in that mindset, okay? So we're going to go to release him. Next thing we're going to do here is you're going to keep it at that same distance, but once you send Kilo to the bed, I'm going to have you begin walking around him, okay? So first you're going to get him to go there. Once he's there, you're going to begin to walk around. If we see Kilo start to get off, you're going to start moving, counter with the leash, begin tapping to get him back on the place, and then you're going to reset and then start your circle again, okay? So then you have to come all the way around back to this spot. Okay, so he has to stay put the entire time you're walking around. Okay? Kilo. Come. Good. Good. Break. Break. Yeah, boy, good. 4 more. Kilo, come. Kilo. Screw it up. Right. Better. I'm walk around. Try going on to 15 as well, please. Good, right there. Break, break. And boy, 3 more. Move forward. Kilo. Good. Better. so you know, place is lenient in the sense that I don't care what he does as long as it's within the space. Okay, so like right there, he like shifted and like moved towards you, like that's actually okay.
Yeah.
I don't care if he sits, if he stands, or he lays down. You can chew on a bone, you can play with a toy. He just has to stay within the boundaries of this mat. Okay, so we're gonna do one more break.
Break. I'm confused as to why he doesn't respond to your break.
Oh,
Like, why wouldn't he?
once we, I mean, because when you say break, that movement backwards is conditioning his brain that when you hear this to move off. And I'm not physically attached to him. But it happens, but not as often as you might think.
Really?
That a dog would respond to me. I'll go ahead and pause right there. When I'm happy, just go ahead and have a seat and hold the leash in your hand. Questions about this so far?
I mean, would you recommend getting the better contact points at this point?
I'd give it a week.
Okay.
Because one thing is,
That's pretty normal to have to like.
with the dog, is even though he doesn't have long fur, he's got a denser coat, right? Is I'd give it a week, see how, if you feel like, yeah, this is really inconsistent, you're kind of all over the place in your numbers and stuff, then I would say that they're not expensive. They're anywhere between like $8 to like $12 for a set, unless you get like a comfort adapter. A comfort adapter is meant for extended wear. So you know how those tube probes? With tube probes, they leave the collar in the same spot. They can develop pressure sores.
Yeah.
It's not from the stem, it's from two things poking the neck in the same spot for a long time. So with the comfort adapter, it's got more, so it's more of a flat surface as opposed to two things poking, okay? So it just covers more surface area, so that can also give you a bit more consistency. Those run like 33 to 35-ish with tax. And you get either one of them on Amazon. If you decide to go that route, let me know, and then I'll send you the links to what I recommend, because there's also other comfort adapters, but they're not good, okay? It is not uncommon in the beginning to have the numbers be like that, because also for him, like he has no, like he's just learning this today, okay? So, other questions?
Sometimes you use this to like give a command or like stop an action. Is there anything like you wouldn't use this for? Like that's like a very vague question. But I'm confused like whether or not this more of the time means yes or no. Or like should it mean both?
Okay, so I get what you're kind of saying there. So are you familiar with the 4 quadrants? You probably know one of them. It's all over the place. It involves treats. Positive reinforcement.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Ring a bell? Yeah. Right? So positive reinforcement, very common. The most common training method, the most widespread method there is. Because it makes people feel good to think that they can fix their dog or get their dog to be completely reliable only using positivity and food. Okay? That's just not realistic. It's a great tool, absolutely. We are not against positive reinforcement. We use it. I just don't rely on it to create reliability. Okay, that's why I do consultations with people. So I educate them, but like, this is what you would like, but this is how it really is. Okay, so there's positive reinforcement and then positive punishment. Okay, this is technically positive punishment. So positive means add. Okay, positive does not mean good or bad. Right. So it's tip, tip. Tip, and a little bit of leash pressure, tip, tip, good, and then have a seat, a little bit of counter, tip, wait a moment, tip, 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 good, and tip, right, wait a moment. Positive means to add and negative means to subtract. So positive reinforcement, positive punishment, negative reinforcement, negative punishment. Okay, those are the 4 quadrants. Here we're using positive punishment and negative reinforcement. Positive punishment, add something the dog does not like. Okay, that's the call, that's subtraction. Negative reinforcement, remove something the dog doesn't like to make it a positive. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So here, this discomfort or negative experiences are actually probably the greatest training tool that we have. Okay, if you touch a hot stove, do you want to touch it again?
No.
No, right? This is a negative experience. It hurts. We don't want to do that, right? If you're in an uncomfortable situation, you really don't want to stay there. You want to remove yourself, right? And then, so with this, we're teaching them, and we're creating concern. It has to be concerning in order for it to be important, okay? And in order for it to be, for them to do it, it has to be important, okay? So here, we're teaching them, hey, when you feel this discomfort, the way you can alleviate it is by going to this area. And as long as you stay on that area, it no longer kicks in. So right now, I'm educating you, he begins to move off of the bed, you started tapping, we gave no cue, right? He's still early on, he needed a bit of guidance, not a problem, but now he's sitting there, you see how he's standing there? What does this body language tell you?
He's waiting like for the next command, or
good guess.
That's my only guess.
He's thinking about what just happened.
No.
He's processing, he's going, what the hell is going on right now, okay? Because it's completely unfamiliar for him, right? He's not meant to have his neck contracted.
Yeah.
That's why we do these things. That's why we either start with the heel or this, something very simple, to teach the dog the line of communication. And then eventually all this stuff goes away, and like he'll hear the e-collar come running to it, because he knows it means, hey, we're gonna go for a walk, or we're gonna go to the park, or whatever, right? Then he starts to associate a positive thing to it, or a good thing to it. So here,
so it's not, sorry to interrupt, it's not a big concern to like charge this with treats and like, when I'm using this to also be positive.
no,
Or is it?
right?
Like
Like,
it's
so
built into the training kind of.
correct. So for my clientele base, right? They have families, they have kids, they have work, they have bills, they have a social life, plus whatever other things they may have, right? So the last thing they want is to learn how to be a dog trainer to train their dog, right? So I've stripped up all the BS, and I go, I know with this alone, with how it is, you will get reliable obedience, okay? And it's simple enough that the people, once they learn it, it'll take a little bit of effort on training, but they can immediately start applying it to life and get reliability, okay? And then over time, as they practice and utilize it more, then they build their dog to be completely reliable, up to off leash if they want, right? But to answer your question, yes, you can use food as well, okay? So like my guys, myself, and all that stuff, we know all that stuff, right? Because we're trainers. This is our career. And sometimes, yesterday I had a case that wasn't as simple as I thought it was going to be, so we brought in food, right? But it was after I realized how difficult it was going to be for the owner, right? So I go, okay, we're going to have to add in food, which is typically not something that I do, but I know for this particular case in command, we're going to need to do it. Okay, so we incorporated it, but then they're like 1 out of 40 people right now that I did that for, right? So unless I'm dealing with a dog that has like confidence issues, or we're dealing with some stuff that we have to counter condition, which means making the dog feel better about it, then we pair it with food, okay? So here, if you were to add in food to this, where would you add it in?
The moment he moves forward to get on the thing. Oh, see, that doesn't make sense either.
Use your brain, think about it. That's how you learn.
My best guess would be like when he's here after a while, reward for holding his place.
Technically, yes. But then you're at the end. So go in the middle. What would be the middle part?
As soon as his feet touch that thing.
Almost.
As soon as all 4 feet are on it.
Correct.
Okay.
As soon as he's completely on it, right? So think about it this way. You're putting pressure on, right? And the moment he gets on there, what happens?
It shuts off.
It shuts off,
Okay.
right? So that's the negative reinforcement, because you're removing something bad.
Right.
So that makes that a positive. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But you can also add in a reward at that moment. So now you're working out of 3 quadrants.
Gotcha.
You see that?
Yeah.
So like let's say you're using food to train this. With food, you would lure the dog to the bed, and once he's on, you would reward him, right? So you're just purely using positive reinforcement, and I guess a little bit of negative reinforcement. Negative reinforcement is when you remove something good. Negative punishment, I'm sorry. When you remove something good. So if, like, let's say I put him on there, I feed him, and then I keep the food in front of him to keep him there. And he starts to like wander off, and I pull the food away. And he goes, oh crap, the food disappeared. And he goes back on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's easy, I guess easier done with the sit. You put a dog in a sitting position, and they get up, you pull away the food, and they'll sit back down again, and you bring the food back in.
Right.
Okay? So here, if you were to add in food, you could, but we don't use it as a lure. We use it simply as payment. Okay, so we make the dog work first, and once it's completed it, now we pay you.
Gotcha.
Whereas in positive only, it's more so like what people call a bribe, where they're using it the entire way to get the dog to do something. Does that make sense? And if you remove it, it's not the biggest deal because it's not uncomfortable. Does that make sense? So here, with this command, it comes with an implied stay. We don't say stay. Okay, so we're going to start using the word place. We can say go to your bed, whatever phrase you want to use, and that's going to be the trigger. And so when you say place, Kilo, once he has a good concept, will just start to go there. Okay, and then he knows, oh, when I hear place, this kicks in, and if I go here, it disappears. Eventually, we keep practicing that. You say place, Kilo just goes to the bed. We don't even need to do the pressure. So he's learning if I move quick enough, I can beat the punch. Okay, so then we have two aspects. We're teaching the send, which is what we're doing now. We're teaching Kilo. When you feel this, you go here. Then we have the stay there, don't move. Okay, so right now when we started talking, about 5 minutes in, Kilo got up and you tapped him and you corrected him a few times, and then finally he stayed there. That's where you create the implied stay. Because he's going, okay, I feel this, I go here, but then if I try to sneak off, it goes back on again. And if it go back on, it goes away. So the only way to avoid the remote pressure is simply not to get off. Don't make that mistake. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, the sending exercise, the one that we're doing now, you would actually only do 3 to 5 minutes, 2 to 3 times a day. Okay, we wouldn't actually teach this long. I do that because I have to teach you to teach him.
Yeah.
Okay, but realistically speaking, you only use this 3 to 5 minutes because it becomes frustrating or stressful for a dog to do something redundantly. Keep repeating it back and forth. Okay, and at some point you might even see him like not want to get off the placemat because he knows you're going to send him right back again. Okay, which is actually good. Because if he doesn't want to get off the placemat, it means it's meaning something to him, right? And that's again how we're going to create that reliability. To teach the don't move aspect, if you're going to, watch TV, you're working from home on a computer, read a book, whatever. If you're going to be stationary for any period of time, you can practice this, right? So you can literally go home right now and do 2 hours. You can pop on the TV, take Kilo's bed, plop it down, send him, keep the leash and remote on him. Hold it or step on the leash or hold the leash in your hand and just watch TV for 2 hours. 30 minutes in, he goes, this is boring. He tries to sneak off. You start tapping him. We don't say anything. Lead him back if we need to. He goes back on, go back to watching TV. 45 minutes later, tries to sneak off. I start tapping. He goes back on. End of 2 hours, he tries to sneak off one more time. I tap him, correct him, he goes back on. He's learning, okay, when I go here, I might be here for a bit, and also if I try to sneak off, I'm gonna get an automatic correction. So the only way to avoid the correction is just don't do it. Does that make sense? So humans, like a child, you can say, hey, go on there and don't get off. And if you get off, you're not going to get to play with your friends for a week. And they can process all that. Dogs don't do that.
Yeah.
We can't tell Kilo, hey buddy, go here and don't move for the next 2 hours. And if you do, there's going to be a consequence. He doesn't know that, right? He has to actually try what he wants to do, or try breaking the command and be corrected for it to learn that they're not options. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Restraining a dog from making an option, from making an option or decision does not teach them to not do it. You technically have to allow it. Okay. So here, by sitting for that period of time, because you're not going to be going anywhere, you're taking advantage of that. Because I know over a period of time, like right now, just within 5 minutes or whatever, he tried to sneak off.
Yeah.
And we corrected him. He's like, oh, okay. And now he's just been sitting there that whole time. Okay, so now he's, again, processing that concept of, when I feel this, I go here, and if I try to sneak off, pressure kicks on. Questions?
At what point, or should I be doing this with a leash indoors?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You're going to be doing this with the leash for a bit, okay, for a few weeks. Because if you remove the leash too soon, Kilo sees that you no longer have a kind of like a physical tie to him, and he'll try to run off. So every time you walk that way, what is he trying to do?
Out the door.
Out the door, right? So imagine that door was open, you had no leash on him.
Yeah.
First thing you do, you go, boop, I'm out of here. Because it's right now, it's an unpleasant experience. Because one, he does not have any idea about what we're doing. It's his first session, right? Two, no one likes discipline.
Yeah.
Okay? So if like my mom brought out the belt, I didn't run to it. You know, I was like, all right, no, it's banging. We'll go the other way. Same thing kind of for this guy. Okay? As you work with him more, you'll start to see all that stuff go away. Okay? Because then he learns, okay, this is just life now. And if I'm just compliant and do what Dad says, nothing happens. Cool. So technically he controls it, right? He controls the levels and he controls if it happens. Because we only, and part of it was because of connection, of course.
Yeah.
But, you know, let's say we had excellent connection. Like I get dogs that won't move until 90. Okay? Or I get dogs that'll fight and resist and buck and bark and alligator roll and bite the leash and all that stuff because they don't want to do it. We just keep going up until eventually we break the resistance and the dog goes, all right, I can either make my life really, really hard, or I can make it very simple and just move with the pressure. Okay? And then that's how we create reliability. Questions?
This is really helpful.
So we're going to start layering the word. What phrase do you want to use?
We can use place.
Place?
I've been using crate, but I don't even plan on keeping him in his crate forever. So.
So his crate is crate, right? That's a separate thing. This would be for, like, example, his dog bed. You can use a towel, you can use a blanket, anything that has a perimeter. Okay? So place is really like go to this thing and chill,
Sure.
whereas crate is more of a confined space. Okay?
I'll just use place.
So go ahead and kick him to break.
Break.
And what you're going to do is same concept, except now you're going to cue the word of place first, begin, then start the tapping. Okay? So it'll be place, tap, 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 no response, keep tapping, and then leash pull to get Kilo to go. Okay? Once he's there, you'll pause a moment. We won't worry about the walk around. We'll just say break and then repeat. Okay? So word first, then tapping. If no response, then tapping with the pull. Okay, we'll put that one. Wait a moment.
Place.
Tap, tap, tap. Good.
Got a yelp of 15.
Yeah, it's okay. I think on the third one we actually lost contact, so we'll see what happens. Break.
Break.
Place. Go ahead and go down to 8. Because we've got 2 consistent yips. Break.
Break.
Good. Good boy.
Place.
That's a good one. Good.
Break.
Couple more. Yep. Wait a moment. Good.
Place. Kilo, place.
Tap. 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 Good. Wait a moment. When you cue the when you say the cue, no repeats. Okay. Because you went place and then you went Kilo place. Right? And you did what most people do because you went deeper. You went place, you went Kilo place, right? So the reason why I point that out is the e-collar does all that for you. So if you see me training a dog, is heel, sit, down, come, place, like just either very simple phrasing or if anything, an up note. Sit, down, place, heel, because that one carries a better energy. 2, if you're outside and there's a lot of noise going on, you never want to go deeper. You want to go higher if you're going to carry over the noise. Okay. So with the e-collar, you can whisper, right? You can be as low as 4 to 8 or whatever, or you can yell. You can be at 127. So when people ask me like, oh, like, do I make my voice more like strict and like sound like a commander? I'm like, no. I'm like, you don't need to. Like, when Enrique trains or Brianna trains or myself or Corey, we're always just neutral tones. and the e-collar will reinforce everything for us, okay? Also for kilo, if you repeat, before you kick in with the pressure, place, 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 then tap, what are you teaching?
That you don't have to listen to the first one.
And which one does he have to listen to?
The third one.
Third one.
Or when he starts feeling pressure.
Correct, right? So then you create what we call a delay. And this is super important with your obedience because the most important command that you absolutely do not want to delay on is the recall. Okay, because if he's running towards the street or whatever, something dangerous, and you call him, a 1 second to delay, dogs move very quick, so you can be in the street already, right? Is if you're causing or creating delay with sit, stay, down, come, place, sit, stay, down, place, whatever, it will affect the recall because everything else is being practiced with delay. So if you try to be strict with one but not in the other 5, it's not going to be good, right? Everything has to be consistent.
Right.
The first time I say something, pressure will kick in, and if you the only way to get or to avoid pressure is to move like that. Okay, so this way, stop, please, something happens, and you call him. There is no delay in the thought process. He just returns.
Right.
Okay, break, break. Good. 2 more.
Place.
That was a premature one. Yeah.
Break.
Okay, so let that one slide.
Break.
Break, 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 break. Now the break doesn't matter so much because it's break. Does that make sense?
Like,
The
I tried
release.
that at home before and he's like, are you sure? Kilo, place.
Tap, 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 tap. And think of like when you, that rhythm, tap, tap, tap. As soon as you kick in with that pressure, that's your rhythm, okay? And as we go along, you'll learn how to create faster movement with a faster rhythm. In some instances, we want an even slower rhythm. If you're trying not to panic the dog, you'll start to get very kind of in tune to what that can convey at different levels, but also at different speeds. Okay, break. Kilo, break. 1 more.
Kilo, place.
There you go. That was a good one, because when you said kilo place, he started walking on his own. Okay? So here, when you go home, don't expect Kilo to just apply this to the bed. You're gonna have to teach it like we taught this one, no words first. Okay? To transfer the foundation of this to the object at home. Okay? Once you see him going there fairly easily, and without much guidance, whatever, then you can reissue the command of place. Does that make sense? So for us, for most of the stuff that we teach, we shape the behavior first. Once I see a fairly quick response or consistency in the dog's response, then I start to label it. Whereas people tend to use the word right away and repeat it, and then it's sloppy.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
The dog has no idea what the hell that means.
Exactly. And just to clarify, he will never know what it means.
Right.
By definition, he will associate what it means. He'll associate when I hear place, I feel the tapping and the leash pull, and I always go here, and it turns off. So when I hear place, I'm going to assume I should just go to the spot.
Right.
Okay? So it's a very common, because as humans, and the fact that we're so closely tied to dogs, and it's so easy to get a dog or whatever, people talk to them, like I've literally seen people multiple times on the street scolding their dog and saying, you don't do that, that's a very bad dog, right? We don't bark at other dogs, right? And like the dog has absolutely no idea what's going on, right? They don't understand words, but we create associations. We shape things, and they go, when I hear this, I do this thing that I've done 100 times. And if I do that, either this will go away or I'll get a reward at the end, okay? Other questions? So, your homework. Is simply just practice this. Remember, 3 times a day, 3 to 5 minutes, pretty short. Start always at 10 and work your way up in terms of that number.
We ended on 8.
Yeah.
That's so
That's okay.
weird.
And it's not uncommon really, in the beginning with like other dogs as well. Like it will usually end up being really high, and towards the end of the session we end up being low. Okay, because then they're starting to get conditioned. He's able to kind of learn like, oh, like there's something on my neck, and I really need to tune into it because it's telling me something. Okay, nothing out the ordinary. I think you have a dog that recovers well. If those higher hits were really that stressful for him, we would see panting. Right, and he's actually chill, relaxed, mouth closed. His face is more relaxed. I don't really see that contemplative look I saw earlier when he was kind of standing like, what the hell just happened, right? So 3 to 5 minutes, 2 to 3 times a day for the sending stuff. And then once you feel like he's good and you can say place and he just goes, you can, and you see that consistently, then I don't worry about the repetitive stuff. I would just do the extended stuff, okay? There's no such thing as too long. You can do 30 minutes, you can do 3 hours, you can do 1.5 hours. Pick and choose, you know, as you go about your day. If like, you know what, hey, I'm gonna watch Titanic today. It's a 3-hour movie, let me work with Kilo, right? Then you do it. This is like the easiest thing for people to do, and I think because of that, they blow it off. But with this command, come spring, summer, whatever, come open up dance studios and you can bring your dog to work, whatever. If you really drilled this, he will stay put, okay? But we start within the home first, okay? Because that's when you can do the most stuff, because that's where you are most of the time. And then come springtime, go to a restaurant with some friends, you bring a towel with you, plop it down, Kilo place, have some nice brunch or whatever with your friends. He doesn't move. If someone says, hey, can I pet your dog? They're cute. And you're like, sure. And he stands up, it's not a problem because it's place. It's simple. But if you were to down him, because this would be a down position, he could not get up, because then he'd be breaking that down command. Okay, so the place command is lenient, allows the dog to, you know, kind of adjust and all that stuff. So much better for those really long duration times. Anything else?
Should I worry about that? The extra leash bit, or how you have to hold it over? Is that pretty normal?
I'm sorry, what was the last bit? Oh, you talking about this?
Yeah.
Oh, so I would do that for now for a couple of weeks. Is this the used one that you got?
Yeah. It was brand new.
I think if you're gonna clip it, leave yourself some length there, and then round it, because it's a hard plastic. If you just cut it across, it'll leave sharp edges. You don't jab yourself. So you want to do a rounded cut. Okay. Anything else? All right. Good job.
I'm excited.
Yeah. You'll learn some more stuff.
Nice work, kid.